For our lesson today, we're going to be looking at comma splices. So just follow along, as these are going to be the notes that you have for today. If you don't have this in Notability, I would like you to go ahead and make sure that it's in Notability so that you can split screen and take the same notes that I have in front of you. So looking through comma splices, the definition of a comma splice is an error that occurs when a writer attempts to hook two sentences together with a comma. Sentence with a comma splice. So here's an example of what I'm talking about. We enjoyed reading Skeleton Creek together. We watched the videos in class. You will notice that this is actually putting two sentences together, but incorrectly. We're not following the correct protocol. There's three different ways that you can fix this sentence. So again, we enjoyed reading Skeleton Creek together, comma, we watched the videos in class. So how can we fix this? There's three ways to fix it, ways to correct your error. The first way is to just simply make two sentences. The easiest way, if you ask me. So let's look at it. We enjoyed riding Skeleton Creek together. So instead of the comma, I put a period. Then I need to make sure I capitalize the we in that next sentence and then continue on. We watched the videos in class. Easy peasy, right? So all you literally need to do is, if you have a comma splice happening where you have two sentences together incorrectly, is simply making it into two sentences. The second style is where you need to insert a conjunction. Conjunctions are the words and, or but. And you're going to include that or insert that after the comma. This is actually a compound sentence. So here's your example. We enjoyed reading Skeleton Creek together, comma, and we watched the videos in class. We've been doing this over and over again. This is a compound sentence. It's one of the ways that you can make two sentences come together the correct way. The third way is by inserting a semicolon instead of that comma. So we enjoyed reading Skeleton Creek together. Now you're going to notice semicolon. We watched the videos in class. So three different ways that you can go ahead and fix a comma splice. Let's practice. Here's some practice, correcting comma splices. Again, definition. A comma splice is an error that occurs when the writer attempts to hook two sentences together with a comma. Now that's wrong. You can't do that. You have to fix it the right way. So here are our ways to fixing it. Remember, the first thing you can do is simply by making it two sentences. So the clouds are gathering in the west. That's a sentence. So instead of this comma, look what I did down below. I put a period. Then I made sure to capitalize my next word, it. It will rain soon. So glancing real quick, you will notice that I have, get my selector here, that I have a capital, I have a period, and then I have another capital, and then I concluded with that period at the end. So again, one of the ways to fixing a comma splice is by making two full sentences with a period. The second way, that again is making that compound sentence, which we have practice and practice and practice and practice, right? So let's look at it. I'm crazy about dogs. This is the incorrect way, where you have a comma. English Springer Spaniels are my favorites. So let's make that into a compound sentence. Let's remember that formula as to what we need for a compound sentence. First off, we need an independent clause, right? Or also known as a simple sentence. Plus, we then need a comma. Plus, we need a fanboy, right? Plus, another simple sentence, plus your period at the end. So if you look down here, you're going to have exactly that. I'm crazy about dogs. So looking on the left side there, that is a simple sentence. Because here's your subject, I am crazy about is your verb, that works. Then you have your comma. After the comma is your fanboy, yet is one that I chose that would work here. And then you continue on and make sure you include that period on the end. So I'm crazy about dogs, yet English Springer Spaniels are my favorites. Remember, when you're selecting a fanboy, though, you want to make sure that it's one that works in the sentence. Don't just randomly pick one. Then we look at the third type here. The third type is where you're using that semicolon. Easy way of fixing this. So here's the sentence. I dreamed, comma. Around me the night shifted and settled. So how can I make that where it's following the rules? You're going to simply add, instead of that comma, you're going to be adding a semicolon. So I dreamed, semicolon, around me the night shifted and settled. So let's practice this together. So as a reminder, let's double check, make sure we know what it is that you can do. So if you have a comma splice happening, there are 3 different ways of fixing it, okay? So it says edit the passage, fix the 3 comma splices using a different comma splice repair strategy for each comma splice. So just as a reminder, let's make our little kind of cheat sheet down here, right? One way is by simply adding a period to make 2 sentences. So making 2 sentences is one way. Okay? Another way is simply making a compound sentence, which we have been practicing the last 3 weeks. Remember the formula on the page before. The third way is simply by using a semicolon instead of that comma. And there's a look of a semicolon. So those are your 3 ways. So as you're fixing the errors up above, I want you to try to use each of those. So let's read the passage. At first, I played smoothly. Then I began to use the pedal, comma, the piano rocked slightly as I pressed the pedal up and down. I pressed the pedal down again harder, comma, the enormous grand piano rolled several inches away from me. My hand slipped completely off the keys. The church was silent. You're going to see that I already marked it up here. So if you're looking at your very first sentence, let me highlight it in yellow. Let's figure out how can we fix this. At first, I played smoothly. So you have a complex sentence here. I circled the first part of it because that's a dependent clause. It cannot stand alone. It doesn't have your subject, verb, and complete thought. But then you do have that a little further down where it says, I played smoothly. So that's a complex sentence. Next sentence. Then I began to use the pedal, comma. There's one of our problems. So we can't just put a comma there. One of the strategies that I've suggested here is maybe putting that conjunction in there, that fanboy, and making that a compound sentence. So let's look at it again. When I began to use the pedal, comma, and the piano rocked slightly as I pressed the pedal up and down. You have 2 simple sentences with that comma and fanboy to separate them. So we made a compound sentence. Okay, let's continue on. I pressed the pedal down again harder, comma, the enormous grand piano rolled several inches away from me. We did it again. We can't do that where you just simply add a comma. We have to follow one of the strategies. So here's the one side. I pressed the pedal down again harder. And then here's your other. The enormous grand piano rolled several inches away from me. So instead of that comma, what I chose to do was I put in there a semicolon. Okay? Let's keep going. Last sentence. My hand slipped completely off the keys. The church was silent. Well, it even kind of sounded weird, so we knew we needed to do something. So let's split it apart and make 2 separate sentences. So that's our the first style we have down here listed, right? So my hand slipped completely off the keys. I added my period. Then I need to make sure I capitalize my next sentence. The church was silent. So there it is, using all 3 strategies on how to fix those comma splices and making sure that we are having the correct style of sentences that we're looking for. So in today's lesson, make sure with this video, hopefully you had it split screen like I suggested in the beginning, and you've marked up your sheet to make sure that you understand how to fix comma splices. If you didn't, go back, make the corrections so that you're ready for tomorrow's lesson.